maybe the next one we split it college and they had a whole like a co-op.
Back then.
It's just Mississippi.
Dance.
Alrighty, it's 5 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order. Alrighty, we'll begin with the pledge. Mr. Chaplain, you want to lead us?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. We have no delegations, and at the request of Mr. Cox, I'm going to let Mr. Frazier go ahead and present first.
On the lockers or bleachers?
No, on facilities update, under reports.
Okay, I see it there, okay. A lot of projects continuing to go on. HVAC at the high school, I'll talk about first. Over spring break, we did finally take a large step in that area. We've been working on this for quite some time. You saw a large crane over there in the parking lot. That lifted all the higher rooftop units on the building. There are still more to come. There'll be a smaller crane come in out back, and it'll put some of the lower rooftop units. If you go back to the student parking lot, you'll see some smaller units there, but those are on the roof. The old ones are off the roof. They even lifted one that we needed to repair that wasn't going to be replaced, that we needed to do some repair on off the roof for us, so that worked out. So we're not paying that crane bill. And they are up and running with what they call an informal start. We will do a formal start up on May 8th. We're going to do that a little bit earlier, but we're working with Mrs. Mason. Our high school testing window is right there in that next couple of weeks. So we could not do it earlier. We didn't want to be turning the air off, turning the air on and off, messing with the environment during our testing. So May 8th is when we'll do a formal startup with manufacturers. We'll have our maintenance staff there and just make sure everything meets what it should meet with those units. And that's on the higher roof. I don't have a schedule right now of the lower rooftop units. I did ask today with ESG to lay out a timeline so I could report that to the board. What basically I was told, and they did do this, they came in Friday before spring break and they worked that entire weekend, the week of spring break, and Saturday, Good Friday, and Saturday before Easter. And they did pretty much work around the clock. I guess the group, W.R. Drake, that's doing the work, needed to regroup. And that's basically the words they used when they were talking with ESG. So I will get a schedule to the board when I know when we're going to lift the lower units on, and then also the vocational side still needs to take place. Now the vocational is over there on the greenhouse side, and they will be outside units kind of similar to the existing units that are outside fenced in right now, but there will be new units placed out there. If we need temporary cooling while they are doing the vocational, while we're still in school, they will provide temporary cooling. I don't know if it's going to be comfortable 70, 71, but I think the way they worded it to me, we would not be miserable 90, 95 in there while students are in there. So we may have to deal with that temporary situation in the vocational wing as we do that, if that takes place during the school year. But that's, they still do owe us the 2 rooftop units here at the board office, the gym units. We had that scheduled one day, and unfortunately our maintenance guy had a cut and we had to cancel. We had it scheduled another day and they had to cancel. So unfortunately we've had two instances come up where that's not done yet. But that's kind of an update on the HVAC, Gilmer County High School middle section as you're looking at the building, and vocational section. And then here at the board office, the only thing in that project was the 2 gym units. Any questions on HVAC? As far as the drainage issue at the high school, Green River Group's been on site for 2 weeks. This week is starting their 3rd week. They are moving right along. I don't know if any of you have been back through there. That's looking good. All the pipe is in. They are cleaning up, working on the slope a little bit. It is going to be a little bit steeper slope because some of the bottom of the bank has been taken away there for the drainage. People from the steps to the greenhouse, we're going to gain 3 or 4 foot of road. I hope our parents don't use that as a speedway or something, because that is our drop off and pickup. But it is going to be about 3 or 4 foot wider of drivable space compared to what we do have now. You can kind of see if you're up there now from the steps back towards the apartments or the steps back towards the dumpsters, that work they've done. They've came across the road with a ditch out back there. We had a hand dug ditch that kind of went to the drain back there. They have put an inlet up there, came across the road and piped it all the way to the drain that was already in place. And we are hoping that takes care of a lot of issues from those back steps towards the apartments or towards our kitchen, cafeteria area. And I think it will. It's real wet back there right now. We do have some natural springs, but I think we'll see in time that that's going to help a lot of that area as well. They had hoped to finish up this week or early next week, and this will be news to Dr. Minnie and Clay because this happened late this afternoon. We did probably make a decision that I think is in our best interest. We do have paving that is part of that drainage project. My next item that I'm going to talk about is the animal processing classroom. We hope to start on that Monday the 17th. One of the first things they are going to do with that project is bust out a lot of concrete. With busting out a lot of concrete comes dump trucks out back, hauling concrete out. When we bust out the concrete, once it's out, we're going to have to bring in cement trucks, heavy trucks back in to pour the new floor and the animal processing and put the plumbing and the drains in place. We made a decision late today that we feel it's in our best interest to hold off on that asphalt rather than bring the heavy dump trucks and haul that cement out and bring in the cement trucks to pour. So they're gonna be mostly done with the work, maybe by Friday, as early as Monday if they don't get finished up by Friday. We are gonna hold off on the asphalt work that Green River owes us as part of that project. Clay, as far as that, they will probably invoice us for everything up except the asphalt. And I do believe we should pay them for everything except the asphalt. But it's kind of on us why they're holding up. They could go ahead and finish. And in fact, they kind of want to go ahead and finish. They want to be done and get out. But they were honest enough with us to let us know they don't think it's in our best interest to finish either and bring those heavy trucks back there. So we are going to hold off, and we might be holding off as much as a month. It will be on UCCI. That's the group that's doing the animal processing. How quick they get in, bust up the cement in the animal processing, and pour the new cement floor. Normally contractors try to be safe in that. I asked how long that would take today, and they told me they think that part of it may take as much as a month. I really don't think it's going to take a month, but that is what they reported to me today. So that, to finish up the drainage issue, just because we're holding off on the asphalt, we may be about a month away. Any questions on the drainage issue before we go farther? Okay. With the animal processing, as I said, that's good news. We did go last week and we're trying to work a couple days in there to clean up a little bit. I know Mr. Cox and some of his students are working on cleaning up in there. And we will have that space as empty as we can have that space for the contractor by Monday, the best we can do. Right now, we have an auction online. You can go to our Gilmer County website. It says public auction. You can see the items that were auctioned out. Those are the items we want to get rid of. There are some items that are going to stay. And Mr. Cox and I met about 7 this morning and kind of worked out and trying to work out a plan. Where can he put things that are out of their way, but create as much empty space in the current shop area to allow UCCI to get in there and work. And that's a balancing act that we'll work out. We'll keep working together on that. We'll provide him any help he needs or whatever he needs to make that happen. And we're close. We're close. I was up there this afternoon and gained a lot today. So we're close on that. Any questions on the animal processing classroom? So hopefully, we'll see the start of that on Monday the 17th. Good. The storage building at the elementary school's been on there for a while now. We did have the pre-bid meeting over spring break. We had 4 contractors at the meeting. So we have 4 potential bidders. That was a mandatory pre-bid meeting, so we're not gonna have any more than 4. We just hope the 4 that were there do all bid. We do feel confident that 2 will bid, definitely. We hope all 4 bid. Obviously, the more bids we get, the more competitive people are gonna try to be, the better pricing that hopefully we get on that project. But that is that. We do plan to open bids before the April 24th board meeting. That is something you guys will probably receive from Dr. Minnie on a Friday email or something. It'll be on the agenda in preparation for that April 24th meeting, but we would try to get you board members the information, the bid results, Friday, probably in an email or however he's communicating to you, that way you have that information and you're not given that information before Monday the 24th board meeting where you can make a decision on that storage building. Any questions on that storage building?
Those bids, did we bid it because I remember last time we bid that, we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, and that's why we rebid it. Did we change the?
We did, and the biggest part of the change and the biggest amount of savings was in the roofing. The way we had engineered or structured the roofing part of that, there was like a $75,000 price tag on that roofing.
On the roof.
And what we did different there is a considerable price difference. We do anticipate being where we feel we could bring a recommendation that we feel comfortable with to the board to make your all's decision. But yeah, I think the adjustments have been made to get that where we want it.
Okay.
Tiling at Gilmer County High School. I've mentioned this several times when I talked to you guys before with the new lockers that were ordered. And I think I've only heard positive about the lockers. There are some students here. I hope they think it's positive. They are wider. Each student has their own. We're no longer sharing. But with that project, we didn't replace locker for locker. When you walk down the hallways right now, east wing, upstairs, downstairs, west wing, upstairs, downstairs, you will see parts of the wall that are not painted. You'll see tile on the floor where there's no tile. So it doesn't look the best right now. We knew that going in, and Clay has budgeted, working with Dr. Minnie, a number out there to allow us to work on tiling this summer. The west wing, we received good news. The west wing doesn't have any asbestos in it. So what that means for us, we can do some of that work ourselves. Right after school is out, as soon as the last day for students, the next day, we've already rented some machinery where our staff will come in and remove the tile in the west wing, upstairs and downstairs. Now, unfortunately, we were not as lucky in the east wing. So when you're looking at the east wing, right side of the building looking at it, downstairs and upstairs does have asbestos. So what that means, we'll be bringing this board a proposal. We'll have to bid it out. We'll have to advertise. We'll have to work with an asbestos abatement company, and we will have to pay to have somebody come in and remove it. The good news is we do feel we can pull that off right now. We did set aside and budget money for that project, knowing it was coming. And they'll have to seal off airway, seal off the walkway, seal everything off. And right now, we are leaning towards, when we do that, not just the hallway that we did the lockers, but also going into those classrooms in that east wing to just be able to say the east wing's asbestos free. Whatever project moving forward, that we wouldn't have to deal with asbestos, period. We'd get that wing asbestos free.
I'm not going to ask my question then, because the asbestos free, because I know you can cover that up. And the asbestos, where it becomes dangerous is when it's broken and those particles come into the air. Just sitting there and walking on it's fine.
That's correct. Where we're at right now, there's already 2 layers of tile in that wing.
Two
We
layers.
have 1 layer down. It's been covered up once. To cover it up a third time,
Yeah.
no flooring company's gonna stand by that work, because they say the 3rd layer of tile is only as good as the 2 layers under it. That's
Yeah.
already busted up, cracked, whatever.
Yeah.
So you're right. It
That's
can be
what I was
covered
going
up.
to be my question, because
And-
a lot of times covering up is a much, but if there's already two
One thing we
layers
found
on it-
out, the folks before us have already covered up everything
Yeah.
they can cover up at Gilmer County High School. So unless we go 3 deep, we are past the
And
point
it
of
needs
covering up.
it, guys. I don't know if you guys have walked through it.
Yeah, we did. We walked it through. It does.
really
It's,
needs
it looks pretty rough right now. I agree.
I have a meeting scheduled with Mrs. Butcher tomorrow and Mr. Haynes, and even though summer school's kind of out of my lane, that's Shelley's lane, and I'll definitely let Shelley handle summer school. But the facility standpoint, what we want to do in the west wing, what we want to do in the east wing, and how to make summer school still happen with 30, 35 kids, what we typically get at Gilmer County High School, we'll work through that plan tomorrow and lay that out with her and what we think would work. Obviously, we want to hear her and Mr. Haynes' opinion, and we'll come up with a plan. We do think it's in our best interest to keep those high school kids at the high school if we can make it work with all the stuff we're trying to do in the wing. So we do think we have a plan to make it work, and we'll work with the administration on that tomorrow. Anything on tiling? Last thing I was going to talk about tonight is some painting. Also with the locker project at Gilmer County High School, there's a need for some painting to take place in those hallways primarily. There's probably more painting that needs to take place. We'll focus at the high school on the hallways, getting those hallways looking sharp again. They'd have new lockers, have new tile, have new cove base, and then a new coat of paint. And Gilmer County High School, those 2 hallways, or east wing, west wing, would start looking pretty good again. And we want to get that done. Also with painting, on Mr. Price's wish list for a long time now, multiple years now, has been painting out there. We do need to tackle some painting. I've told the board before, some people try to do some really good things. We try to patch here and there, but we've learned patching here and there is not real smart. You can look at this wall behind you here. We patched that. The paint doesn't match. We've patched here and there, unfortunately, in a 7-year-old building, a $14 million school, but unfortunately, when you walk the hallways, it looks like a patch job. And that school only being 7 years old should look better. and our kids deserve better. So our plan with that, at some point, we'll bring to the board, hopefully in a very near meeting, we'll put together a posting for extracurricular or extra duty work, where maybe some of our staff that we already have hired could work after hours, during breaks, weekends, evenings, whatever. We do have some excellent painters on staff. I would love to hand pick them and go out there and say, we want you to paint, we want you to paint, we want you to paint. You can't paint, we don't want you. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in our educational bubble. We'll have to post this in a way where everybody has an opportunity to apply and have a chance at this money. We'll look at it, we'll look at the candidate pool as we always do. We'll post in a way, there's some other work that needs done too. And if this guy can't paint, maybe he's a great labor guy and we can figure out something for him. But we're gonna do our best and legal in the right way to come to you with a posting for extracurricular, extra duty work that we can hire some existing staff outside the normal hours to tackle some of this painting. And again, the right people are out there. We just need the right people to apply. And I'm telling you, they're excellent painters that we can turn loose in our hallways, in our schools, and we can all be happy with the work. That's all I have, unless anybody wants to hear or ask any questions.
Yep, this sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Alrighty, then we'll move back up to student recognitions, and I guess that's Mr. Cox.
All right, you two get up there. So right before break, we had the regional leadership development events, and we only had 2 this year. There's extemporaneous speaking, prepared speaking, freshman creed speaking, upperclassman creed, and parliamentary procedure. And last year we went and did really well. This year we went, and Rayanna won first in freshman creed and gets to go to states. And in my 11 years of being here, that's only the 3rd time we've ever managed to beat Rome County for that to happen, so that's
Yay.
Oh.
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 Oh. Great job.
Nice.
Congratulations.
That's really good. Did you guys, how many people did you think you competed against?
There was 5 in my group.
5?
5 in my group, or 4 in my group.
Nice.
Okay, so I hear about this creed all the time.
Give
I
him a
mean,
taste.
Yeah, can we just kind of have a little taste? A little taste? Just a little snippet.
You got it.
7 years ago.
There's lots of videos you can watch.
Well, they do have to say it, and they do get counted for any word they miss. So any word, there's somebody sitting there watching the script, and if they stop and pause, and they say, "Oh, shoot," that's 2 words missed. And then if they repeat what they've already said, those are words missed. So they get scored on accuracy, and of course facial expressions and eye contact and everything. And then they have to answer questions about the creed.
Nice.
Very proud.
Great
Yep,
job.
yep, great job.
Thank you all for representing us.
Nation, did you catch that 4 7 years ago? Our forefathers brought forth
Oh,
this.
Lord.
I learned that in her class. Gettysburg Address? Yep.
Alrighty. Well, yep. See you then.
Conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
I did.
Alrighty, we will move on to the consent agenda and start with the minutes. And you have those from March 27th special meeting, special calendar meeting, and regular meeting in front of you.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes for the March 27th meetings, the special meeting, the special calendar meeting, and the regular meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to accept the minutes for the special meeting, the special calendar meeting, and the regular meeting of March 27th, 2023. Is there any further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Abstain, because I wasn't there for 2 of the 3.
Okay. All right. And, okay, we will move on to the treasurer's report, and that's Clay.
Good evening again.
Hello, Clay.
For the regular meeting, we have the schedule of checks to be written, and the monthly financial report for March. There were a few questions I received about the schedule of checks to be written. One of them was a $32,000 payment to the West Virginia Department of Education. That is part of our virtual school component that allows students to take courses online, some of them that they need to graduate, maybe that we don't offer. I know it's kind of pretty pricey, and I believe it is in the works as to how exactly we allow students to participate in that. Obviously not just optional classes that they want to take that we don't provide that really don't mean anything. So that's what that check was. There was also a check to West Virginia Department of Agriculture for $7,313. That is part of our donated foods program with child nutrition. And what that basically is, it's a cooperative program to where boards of education can purchase certain food commodities at a discounted rate. And that's what that check was. There was also another one that was, I believe, to zones. I believe it was $9,514 or something like that. Don't quote me on that one. But that was it's kind of a little misleading because it just says laptop optical mouse. That was for 682 optical mice at I think it's like $14 a piece or something like that. Sometimes when that report prints out, it does cut off information. So anytime you see something like that that doesn't sit well, or it kind of makes you go, what in the world was that? Please don't hesitate to contact me, because we can sort that out rather quickly. Typically, if you give me the fund, I can tell you very quickly what it was. There any question about the checks to be written? Other than those?
I have a question just for you, Clay.
Yes.
Were they, I don't know who brought up the question on the 32,000. I had noticed that too, but I've learned that every time I ask that, that's typically that it falls back into some sort of educational tool that we use.
Right.
But I know that a lot of these are online. Do we ever do an audit? Do we do an audit of that each year?
To check what they are?
Yeah,
Yes.
if we're still using them and
Yes.
if they're being utilized
Yes.
to the degree of.
Yes, I mean, the attendance in those is verified.
That's the
Yeah,
attendance is
yes,
verified? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just curious.
That's something that started and has continued. That started with COVID versus schools going out and hiring their own people and creating their own online school.
Yeah.
The State Department kind of got that whole process started, and it was very, very cheap, and all the counties kind of jumped at the opportunity and stayed with it. So they've really had to start increasing their prices, because they had to go out and find all the instructors to teach it. So that's just something that is evolving and continues to evolve.
And is it kind of like a data bank of courses? Is
I
that?
believe there's certain select opportunity, courses that they can go out there and select from.
So I know, like, during COVID, kids in the county could be remote, basically, and they
right.
could, it's not homeschooled, I guess, they could
Right.
just be at home
Right.
and log into the State Department
And-
classes.
Yes,
The state requires a 6 through 12 option for virtual school.
yeah.
Okay,
And they also provide the platform for it to be used. And the kids that do the virtual schooling, they take a percentage of the state aid formula I mean, they charge a percentage.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I was wondering, if they still required that after.
yeah,
Mhm.
you have to provide the option.
Yeah, they had actually, before COVID started, that was a push to be able to do that, and
Mhm.
COVID just expedited it, and it's gonna be forever now.
Yeah.
That one will be, yeah.
Right.
Clay, I seen last time we had, of course, HVAC payments, and the last one, there's another one in this one. Is that kind of the final one, or like Mr. Frazier said, since we have more units coming, will
No.
there be more of
There'll
those
be
coming down?
more of
Okay.
those, yes, yes. Yep. I'll let you know when we get down to that point, because there'll be a big inspection process before that final payment is made. Kind of like we did with the safe entry, there'll be a big punch list with everybody involved, and nothing gets finalized until everybody's satisfied and everything that we want fixed is fixed, and vice versa. Any other questions with schedule of checks? Any questions on the monthly financial report?
Can you determine the month to date?
I haven't. Dustin did ask me, he said, how come the month to date is showing as zeros? And I don't know if that had to do with the quick turnaround, because I got this printed before the 5th of April. But I will check on that if there's any updates or if the information changes. I'll provide you with a new report.
So make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the treasurer's report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Clay. Alrighty, we will move on to new business, and we have bleachers at Gilmer County High School. Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, absolutely, Joe's gonna give a presentation on that.
We put the bleacher information in your packet, and I included everything I had on bleachers. As we go through, you saw a total base bid, then you saw the ad for removal of existing, bleachers, then the ad for the court side insert logos, and then the ad for the extreme logo. When we discussed it, we being, Dr. Minnie and Clay, when we discussed it and when we knew what the budget was, where we were, we knew the total base, we had no choice. Obviously, if you're getting bleachers, you gotta buy them. The removal for existing, we thought we had no choice there. We need to pay this company to come in, remove them, get rid of them, so we felt we had no choice. So really, only the last two things did we think there was a choice on. And the ad for the 160 courtside logos, what that is, that just be on the end of the bleacher. It'd be on the end of the bleacher, and we can put a logo there. I actually ran off a new thing today, just so you guys can see what we think about it. Well, a couple we think about. It'd be pages 3 and 4 in this, and I'll get to 1 and 2 here in a minute.
Like this right here?
Well, that's the extreme logo.
Oh, that's the extreme.
That's extreme. Right now, we're just talking about the court side logo. It'd be 3 and 4. You should see a G on one of them, and then you should see the Titan that we use in one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
We did put in our recommendation, included in that number, is the court side logo. We did think for $1,000, a little over 1,000, that was worth it. If the board approves bleachers tonight, I'll actually have them provide us a physical sample. I like the G myself. Some comments I get about the G is we're not Glenville State. It's not our logo. We're the Titans. So that's why I provided the Titan option. That Titan on the last page, that's kind of what we've always used. If you look up a Titan online, they'll give you that Roman soldier sideways or whatever, but we've never really used that as our logo. But I want to see what that looks like. I'm a little bit nervous, maybe that's too busy on something that small. So we will actually have them print it and provide us a physical sample of actual size. The only reason I bring that up, and we can do something different, that is in the quote and the recommendation that the superintendent's made to you. That part is, okay? And again, for that part, it's $1,000 some dollars, I think $1,047. We did feel that was worth it. Where we're a little bit torn is the first 2 pages of what I just gave you. One has the G on it, and then one again has that Titan on it. This is only when you push your bleachers back. And this is only when you push your bleachers back. When we started thinking about that, Now, that is just under $6,000 each side to do that. When we started thinking about $6,000 there, we started thinking, when do we push our bleachers back at Gilmer County High School? Well, we just had the school play. We pushed back the stage side for the school play, but we put up a backdrop. You're not gonna see it. We put them back for school dances, homecoming, prom, whatever. The lights are off. You're not gonna see it. If we go back to having graduation at Gilmer County High School, we're gonna need the bleachers. If we have senior assembly, big events at Gilmer County High School, we need the bleachers. That's where our seating is. And our group, and again, we being Dr. Minnie, Clay, and myself, even though I think it's cool, and if we ever needed it with a pushback, I'd like to see the G or the Titan there for $6,000 a pop, no more than our public would ever even know it's there. Because again, every time our public's in a building, we need the gym seating, we need the bleachers. We did not feel it's worth it. So that's the Extreme logo, and that is not in the recommendation that we made to you. I did want to provide it to you. I didn't want somebody to come back after the fact and say, man, that would have been really cool. This so-and-so has this. Why didn't we do that?
I agree.
Because this is the time to do it if we're ever going to do it. But again, of cases that the public or even our students are in that gym with the bleachers back is very rare. Mrs. Butcher may be able to speak to that. She's spent several years there. But I think what I'm saying is true and accurate.
That is true. Yeah, I agree.
So the proposal, and I'd be happy to answer any questions there. The proposal that the superintendent, I believe, is written up in your paperwork is $154,163. And that includes the total base bid for the bleachers, the removal and disposal of the current bleachers, and the courtside insert logo at $1,037.
Now, is this both sides?
This is both sides.
Okay.
This is both sides, yes.
We were actually pretty pleased with the price that was on the state
Yeah.
bid, and Joe had made this comment. He looked at this a few years ago, and it was a little bit lower than this, so these things are not getting any cheaper.
Two years ago, I quoted this, and it was $21,000 cheaper. The same exact thing 2 years ago. I'm not telling you that to say we got to bid it today. It's whatever you want to do, and I'll tell you kind of how it came about. One thing, the board right before you guys, and this board has continued, which I really appreciate, and I think Clay could speak to this. We sat down at one time and made a priority list of projects. And I gave you an update on it tonight. And we have stuck to that. Now, it's happening slower than any of us would want, but it is happening. And before that, we talk about these things, but they never really happen. Bleachers have been on our radar for quite some time. Even in Dr. Minnie's short term here, he can tell you in any COPE meeting we have, Clay at some point during his spiel, I mean that well, Clay, your spiel, but at some point during his part, he'll say if there are items out there that we need, tell us. And even before Dr. Minnie, years before Dr. Minnie, but even since, there's never been a meeting or an opportunity that Clay said, do we need something, that I haven't brought up bleachers. I brought it up every time, so it's not something we just came up with. It's been talked about for years. They are old, they are grungy, they are busting on the top. We're gonna have people with rear ends pinched. They have cracks on the top, the ends are falling off. Sometimes they go back, sometimes they don't.
You've already repainted.
We painted the flooring, and Clay and Dr. Minnie came to me one day and said, Joe, we actually think we can pull this off. And I was thrilled. So that's how we got here. I'll be happy to answer any more questions about the bleachers.
I mean, I definitely feel like we need bleachers, but on that list at some point, you know, when we toured the high school, our science rooms need a lot of work, and a lot of our other rooms need a lot of work too. I mean,
Add those to the priority list.
I would like to see,
I couldn't agree more. I don't know if the board got it. I got it. When we went with this animal processing, which I'm all in favor of, think it's a great thing, don't want to take any thunder from it. I got a lot of comments, why are we not doing a science lab? Every student in Gilmer County High School will go through a science lab.
7th and 8th.
I think, I agree with you. I think, Dr. Minnie, moving forward, my recommendation would be, that needs to be something we ask and we keep working at with a project,
Sure.
an SBA project. But I think it is definitely needed, no doubt about it.
you know,
That's a good point.
well, of course, it's been a lot of time since I've been through the science rooms, but when we toured the other night, they're rough. And a lot of the other disciplines too, so something to put on the list and work at as we can.
And that may be something, Dr. Minnie, that we need to kind of look at with the current board. Because some of you, I think, were present and part of that board, but there's been some change since that list was made. And we did prioritize that, and we actually did it together. It was the directors, superintendent, and the board. And we actually sat down together and did that together. I don't know if it's a work
I think
session
that
or
sounds
what.
like a great idea. I
To see what
actually,
we have going on now, and then where are we going from here?
yeah, put,
Cause I don't know if Jason was in on it, but I wasn't when you prioritized,
Well,
so
maybe
I'm
none
not
of
sure
us-
that.
maybe
you
none
know.
of us
Oh,
think
dude,
so.
the
That may
meet-
be true.
That's been years ago, when they first decided to do that, so I mean, I don't know when the list got created,
Yeah.
but
It's the most successful we have been with projects, getting them on the agenda, getting them going, and actually getting them completed.
But I would love to do, I thought that when we first came here, if we could see, because, you know, when we first got on and this first started, there were so many projects.
Yeah.
Like, and we're
And, you know,
still, like,
we'll
we're
be
just getting
completing.
started in those projects, like, we're just
It
now.
happened faster than
This,
that.
yeah, the 17th is, you know, we're gonna start the meat
So time to make
process
a
in place,
future
but
list.
that's, yeah, but it is time, so.
I'd say it's fair. Thank you, Dan.
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Ms. Frazier. Alrighty.
Which fund is this out of? And
This will come out of our general fund carryover from last year.
was this budget?
That's not even remotely close to all of it. That's just kind of one of many things that we kind of stuck money aside for in preparation. I mean, the storage building is one.
So it's
We had-
budgeted.
Yeah, we had like the tiling project is another, kind of another pot we sat down and created. Just kind of trying to forward think. If it gets to
Yeah.
that point, you never wanna go through this entire process, and then when it comes right down to it, well, do you have the money? And we kind of front loaded everything to where the
Well,
money's
yeah, if
there.
we make a list, then
Yes.
as money comes available, we can.
Yes.
Oh.
That's kind of what we've done through all these. There is a lot going on, but it's
Yeah.
very, very positive.
Yes, absolutely.
Would you guys feel comfortable just tabling this for right now until we have that meeting, like hopefully, you know, our next meeting, we can have a special meeting before?
Well, the next step would be what, just to get it out to bid, so.
I know that, but before we do that, we were talking about science labs and
Actually,
everything, we're wanting to look at that
Just to clarify,
list.
the bidding of this, we don't have to bid these out because they're on the state bid sheet. So this would be an actual purchase of the bleachers. We felt comfortable with the carryover and with our future projects that we would have the money to be able to fund this type of project with the carryover funds. And then, you know, if there's other projects that you guys would like to prioritize, one advantage to us is if we want to prioritize something and make it happen, it might not happen this year, but by next year or the year, we can budget it, we can figure a way out to make these things happen. And we do have a lot of updates that we need to do.
I think what Mr. Chapman's getting at is, you want to know how much money we got, what projects we got going on, where we're at with it, what other ones we've got coming down.
Well, I
before we
would've-
make a decision on spending 150.
Yeah, I would have gone and just gone ahead and, you know, asked, you know, made a motion for this, but then, you know, Hillary said, you know, talking about the science room, I think, and then Joe, you know, apprised us of a list of things. I think it would just be nice for us to look at that list before we went and spent our surplus, you know, because that doesn't happen very often.
I mean, I see what you're saying.
I'm fine with doing it now. It's just, there's
We've got other things we've talked about the foods consumer science lab and some other projects too that we could be updating. So there are other things that we've talked about on, you know, that we know that there's we've been forward thinking some of these projects as well that we could share with you in the future.
It doesn't matter to me either way.
So, in your all's opinion, the bleachers is what needs addressed next. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
I think with the liability, I mean, the one thing I noticed when looking at it is that there's handrails down the middle. And that hadn't burned us yet, but it's just a matter of time.
We got grandfathered in, is the only reason we're getting by right now.
Yeah.
If you had bleachers in by a certain date, you're grandfathered in. If you're more than 3 bleachers high, you are supposed to have handrails.
Yeah.
We just got grandfathered in, the only reason we're not in trouble right now.
The bleacher thing is, will never go away, because they're not going to get any newer, and they keep
Right.
degrading, so.
Yeah.
Right.
People that sit on them over time, and if
And they're
you
not
look-
getting any cheaper.
They're not getting
I
any
hear
cheaper.
that.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
And if you look at the amount of population of our public that sit on those bleachers, there is a lot of people in this public that sit on those bleachers.
Well, would you guys entertain an idea for, to remove the old bleachers and to put new ones in then? Is that what we wanna do? We gotta make a decision.
I think if that's what you recommend, then I would make a motion to, accept the bid the
It's,
state bid from Huffman Company for bleachers for $154,163.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or amendments to the main motion?
Well, I just wanna say Hillary kinda stole my motion right there.
Sorry. Would you like to do it again?
Your thunder is gone.
Alrighty,
It's okay, we'll stick with that.
But we would like to have a work session sometime to look at the
Yeah,
excess
yeah, absolutely. I'll
and
make
remake the
note of that.
list
We'll get-
and,
If,
Just put everybody on the same page again.
yeah, because as we start finishing up projects, then it'll be time to start
we'll do
new
a work
ones.
session soon.
Yeah.
alrighty, so hearing no further discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Alrighty.
Boy, high schools will be looking good.
Yep.
We'll get to you later, Tyson. We're gonna get to you, buddy, don't you worry.
Well, he's got
Yeah.
the newer school,
I
to
know.
be fair,
I know.
I mean, you know.
Okay, alrighty, so we're gonna move down new business to letter B, 2023-2024 school calendar. We've had special meetings on those. Is there anything else we need to cover with the calendar, Dr. Minnie?
I don't think so.
Make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 school calendar.
Second.
Alright, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the 2023-2024 school calendar. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that main motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Alrighty, and letter C, PL conversion days, Dr. Minnie.
These are just a couple days. One of the things that we have been focused on is, professional learning, providing time for our teachers, being able to give them time to, work with each other. And so these last 2 days of school have, a couple different things. That they need the time to finish up, and they're notoriously, missed days, if that makes sense. So what, we thought we could convert and more appropriately use those days for professional learning. We have the instructional time built in with our instructional minutes, and what we would like to propose for you guys is to convert those days to professional learning days for all staff, and that way they have additional time to work and to do professional development right near the end that will ready them for the next year. And those days were notoriously missed by our students,
Which will help our attendance.
which helps our attendance rate. And I've stressed to this board, every single one of those days that the students miss does make a difference with our chronically absent rate.
So I make a motion that pending no more emergency closure days, we will convert May 24th and 25th to professional learning days for all staff.
Second.
Alright, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or amendments to the main motion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Alrighty, we have no old and unfinished business, so we will move to personnel. Dr. Minnie.
I just got a permission to post what we call Project Connect, which is basically a communication plan that will put out our communication to the public in a positive way. These would be stipend positions, extracurricular stipends. There would be 2 positions, one at the elementary, one at the high school. These folks would be working on creating multimedia content that will be posted to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our Thrill Share app, which will then get that out into the hands of the parents, and also be creating content, collaborating with the newspaper and being able to promote our system in a positive way. This would be, each person would be paid a stipend up to like 6 hours per week while they create content. This is a very time-consuming type of creation. Anybody that has made this type of content before, just to take the photos and write the captions and things and post on social media is time-consuming. So it would be a way for us to be able to promote and send out messages to our parents, our stakeholders, our businesses, our partners in education, and we would like to go ahead and get started on that this year. And then Clay, when we do the budget, we'll be making the budget proposal for you all. You'll be able to see those things in there for next year as well. Another thing with the budget, you'll see a budget proposal. We're going to be giving a full training, so some of these questions about the money and where it's at, you'll be able to see that. We actually plan to give that next meeting, so. So as far as, as far as, that's all I need is just I'm making the recommendation to give permission to post. Hopefully we can pick up a few of those.
I'd like to make the motion to give permission to post the Project Connect stipends.
Second.
Alrighty, it's been properly moved and seconded to give permission to post the Project Connect stipends. Is there any further discussion or amendments to that motion?
Do we have any idea of like what the yearly budget is gonna be on that? Like what we're looking at? I think you know.
Yeah, it looked about, for the stipend itself is about 7,000. That's what it would be per.
So 14 a year.
If we did about between 4 and 6, that would be at the high side. I wrote 6 hours. I don't know if it will take them. I really don't know how long it will take to create the content. If it takes 3 or 4 hours or 6 hours.
We absolutely need.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, hearing no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Alrighty, and we'll go back to Superintendent Benny for the superintendent's information.
I've got several little updates here, working off the calendar. I will be traveling to superintendent's meeting and ASA this week. Get updates for you and have more of a robust update from the state. I sent everybody out, of course, with your email this morning. I sent out the superintendent update from the state superintendent. We've got just a quick update on the 19th at 2 p.m. I know most of you have gotten back a hold of me with a district strategic planning meeting. Clay and I, we do a weekly budget meeting at 8:30. So these budget items that you guys talk about, we meet every week, and we talk about how to make these things happen. We will be focusing our next meeting on providing you all the training on the fund accounting so you can get an idea of how the budgetary process works and what the codes are. That way, when you see any of these things coded, you'll be able to tell exactly what fund it comes out of. Does that make sense? To understand what the code and what it stands for, if you ever have a question, we're going to give you a key where when you get that schedule of checks, you'll be able to look and say, well, that came out of this fund.
Mm-hmm.
You also get the budget itself, so you'll see the budget and the fund, and then you'll be able to, in the future from here on out, be able to look when you get that schedule of checks in your packet, and look and see what fund that exactly came out of, if that makes sense. Because it's kind of it's a hard process, so hopefully it'll clear things up, and you guys will be able to have that, and whenever you got a question, hey, where's this funding coming from, you'll be able to look and see exactly where it's at. We were not able to get the Narcan trainer in. That's just a short update. We'll just continue on for the next round, but she could not make it on RPL day. So we will try again. We are ready. We have local people trained, of course. We have an emergency plan, but we wanted to get a more robust.
So we had the new cabinet
We
and
got the
everything out
cabinets.
here.
Mhm. So those things that were approved last meeting are already up and ready to go. Joe gave you the update. We got several things going on there. I wanted to just congratulate Clay. We had a pretty good audit there, which was really nice. I wanted to give a quick superintendent shout out to Brandon Payne. He and Shelley Mason organized that social studies fair, and that's a ton of work. I mean, it is, well, there's a couple of you where you saw what type of setup that was. I also wanted to give kudos to Mr. Price and the teachers and staff that organized the first and second grade music performance. I went to that was really good. I realized then that we have extremely good parent involvement. I feel like we could probably do anything as far as with parents.
Yes.
So they really did. The parents should be commended. The community was really at that event.
And it's always like that. Whatever you do, it's packed with the parents. They want to be there.
So at the next meeting, we will be doing a meeting on April 18th, and I wanted to just give an update that meeting will reconvene to do the levy rates. And if we have any RIF and transfer hearings, will also be at that meeting. And I do think we do know of at least one that we're going to have. On a side note, we have been, and Clay's gone, but we got additional comps today. We know that we're gonna get funded for 4 more service people, so that breaks us about even from what we did. So we could get additional, we don't know, they're creating this, guys, as they go along. We got new comps today. I will share that information with you. We were funded for 51, now we're funded for 51.6 or something, and now we're funded for 55. So we are hoping that we can make it through this RIF and transfer season and everybody keeps their job. That's our goal. And I've shared that with the employees. I wrote that on of course you guys get the bulletin. We really hope that that's the case, and that's why when we RIF'd, we focused on those aides. Those are the positions that we're going to have to hire. We did get an update, and we are going to have an aide in every class that has over 12 students in it, in a phased-in situation, pre-K through 3rd grade. So we're looking at maybe first and part of second, but we won't have to do all of them this year, because it's a shock. So we could have to do up to 9 aides, have to hire up to 9 aides positions. So those are all things that we're continuing to work, and I'll give you an update as soon as I get those. And today we did have that update with the comps, which greatly alleviated. That's going to be 4 that they're paying for, which broke us about even. And we had tried to do about the amount, because we were 4.7 over to start with. We tried to do about the amount that we thought that they would give the first year, and they gave 4 already. And they may do more than that. We may come out with more preliminary comps that give us more additional service folks. We just don't know yet. So based off all of that, we're hoping that we can arrange it where, our RIF, we were over pretty good. So we've tried to alleviate the sting of that by the RIF and transfers, the need there with the aid. So that's all I've got. Everything seems to be on schedule. You guys have got the monthly matrix there that has our entire April scheduled out, and I do have one mistake on there. I've got a policy committee on Sunday. That budget and policy committee needs to come off of there. We do have training coming up, correct? With the team leaders with Neola. And then we will be able to take off on the policy writing piece. So in the future, you'll see on the next month, if you'd like to have one of those kind of project work sessions, I'll put that around on the next month. Probably not the next meeting, because we're kind of packed on that one, but around the beginning meeting of next month, we can do a project work session. That's all I've got.
Alrighty, well, that moves us to continuous improvement. We'll start off with Mr. Price.
They saved the best for last. That's what I was gonna say.
They certainly have. So I'm just here to give you guys an update on iReady. We spoke several times about this. We are currently piloting a program called iReady in grades 3 through 5. Started out with a focus on mathematics. As we got started with this pilot, meeting with Skip Hackworth from iReady, he's opened that up to English language arts. Our teachers in English language arts said, hey, we'd like to get in on this as well. So currently in grades 3, 4, and 5 at Gilmer County Elementary School in math and English language arts, we are using iReady. It is a benchmark program. It also has what's called an online instructional component. There are 3 parts to iReady. There is a benchmark, which is a lot like what we use with STAR. So when we present our benchmark data, that comes from STAR. There is an online instructional component, which are lessons. These lessons are formed from the data that the benchmark gives. So when a student goes in and they take a math benchmark, it's going to craft a lesson based on what that student's needs are. The third part of iReady is something that we don't have, and that's the core curriculum part to this. So I just want to make you all aware of that, because next year is a mathematics curriculum review, and we don't have iReady. Currently we have a different program for math, but we're going to review different programs, and that's on the list. So, if hypothetically we came to you next year and said, hey, Gilmer County Elementary School really wants iReady for math, and I just don't want you guys to be caught off guard and say, I thought we already had it. What's that? No, what Mr. Price was talking about in 3rd through 5th grade, it is a different component of that. But we've administered the first benchmark, and we're looking at the data, and I just wanted to share some things with you that I was hearing highlights about. And one of the things that I tried to front load this board with, and to prepare you all, that it's a tougher test. It's a harder test, it's more rigorous, and it can be a little bit humbling when you look at the student data. And we've been humbled. And so I wanted to share that data with you as well. I did have a typo, so I've just crossed out on 4th grade math. I accidentally wrote 22% proficient. That is actually 32%. If you wouldn't care, sort of just take one and pass it down. And what I've done is I've modified the spreadsheet that Shelley Mason makes for us that has all of our benchmark data. It's very helpful, and it's a very good way to look at this benchmark data. So I simply added a column to her spreadsheet because that's going to include the first and second benchmark data for STAR. So if you're all looking at this with me, where it says first benchmark, and then it also has participation in parentheses. I didn't have that data to give to you for iReady, but it is close to 100% participation in all 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. But the first benchmark, that is STAR. The second benchmark, that is STAR. The third benchmark that's blank, we are currently in that window. That window opened today. So we're taking that STAR benchmark starting this week. It closes this week as well. We will do some makeups the following week, but shouldn't have too awful many. Then that 4th column is the iReady benchmark data. We will also do another iReady benchmark at the end of the school year. But I just wanted to provide this with you, and just so you can see there is a difference. And these are also not the same exact points in time. Our mid-year STAR benchmark started in December, and it actually went into January for kind of a funny reason. It had to do with WEVUS and our delay in getting WEVUS working, and then it delayed our beginning of the year benchmark. So because that happened, we had to have 90 days in between our first and our second benchmark for our after-school kids. So I give you all that information just to tell you that second benchmark and the mid-iReady benchmark are not the exact same points in time. They're off by about a month and a half. But you'll see that it shows a different level of proficiency there. What we've been told and what data has shown, and this is one of the things that the iReady folks come to you with, is that we should expect much closer to the iReady benchmark on the general summative assessment. And that's really what we want. We want to be able to pivot and make instructional decisions based on the best data that we can get our hands on throughout the school year. So that 5th column that says GSA data is blank. And I'd take a few points more than that iReady benchmark data as well. But I do anticipate we're going to see a really interesting correlation there, that end of the year benchmark data. I also printed off, and this is just a random 5th grade student. One of the things that we haven't really gone all in with, but I think that when I've talked with teachers, talked with the leadership team on this last benchmark that we do in iReady, I believe we're gonna send home the parent report for iReady as opposed to the parent report for STAR. We found that it is a better report, and I've redacted the student information, but just for your all's information, this is what a parent report looks like in iReady. And as a principal, I really like the data that I see and the information that I see. Unfortunately, when it copied off, there is a graph here. And where it says, oh my goodness, it actually has that kid's, it doesn't have the kid's last name, but it has the kid's first name. I thought I got it all redacted, but you don't use your hands. It's actually cut off half the name. There's a graph there as well that will show you where that student is in the benchmark window. But it gives the parent suggestions for conversations to have with their teacher, which I thought was excellent. Conversations to have with their child. It's going to give the major domains of that subject and where that student is within the grade level. And what we're finding is a much less inflated sense of accomplishment or proficiency in math and reading. And that's what we want. We don't want to stroke our egos with benchmark data. We need to know where we're at and what to do next. That's the whole point of taking one. It does take longer. So typically a STAR benchmark, that's going to take about 20 minutes. That's something that we look at. We make a lot of decisions based on that 20-minute assessment. This takes much closer to an hour. And they told us that it would, and that proved to be the case. Students are averaging 45 minutes a week on iReady lessons. Been running this report regularly, working through a couple of kinks with it, but by and large, we're getting at about 45 minutes. That's what they recommend. Occasionally, we'll look at that report. Somebody's been on there for 2 hours. They got on there at home. They say that's perfectly fine. If a student wants to get on iReady at home or over a weekend, that's perfectly fine. And we've had some students doing that.
Those fifth graders were solid.
Yeah.
33% on the STAR and 33%.
And that was the only one that perfectly correlated.
26% on the STAR and 26% on
Yeah.
iReady.
Yeah, and they did. And I was surprised to see it so close.
Yeah.
But you're right, yeah, I noticed that.
One thing that I'd like to point out, you see the reading results there, and you see the 20% and the 26%, and then you go up to math. It notoriously across the state, the math scores are lower than the reading scores. That reading area is something we're gonna have to focus on, and I know Mr. Price is working diligently with Reading Horizons, the science of reading, the exact push that the State Department is pushing. He's got a program, I have went in and watched it in action, and a lot of our PL days and time and things to move forward in the future, we're going to be focused on that exact type of program at Reading Horizons. Hopefully, we'll be able to see that come out in a year or two, because it's a learning process. We're teaching reading kind of like how we learned it, through phonics and phonemic awareness and those types of things.
But our teachers have been very receptive to this so far. They've really, really liked it. This is probably the most excited that I've seen a group of teachers get about an instructional initiative. Sometimes you get that, that's just one more thing. I have not heard anything like that with this. So, I mean, and really, I'd be honest if I did. I just haven't heard it. They're very excited about it. They've also had access to all of the instructional materials through iReady, so they're really diving into that already. So when it comes time to start reviewing math materials for next year, I know our math teachers, at least in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, have really jumped into it and are already kind of looking at what those textbooks look like, because they have access to them electronically, both up and down grades. So you might have a student that needs some enrichment to go up a grade, or some remediation with that to go down a grade, and so that's been a really nice component to this as well. But any questions about iReady?
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, sir. Mrs. Butcher, you're up next.
I am ecstatic to be at the high school again, and I didn't know that I was going to love it so much, and it has just been wonderful. It's been great for me. I hope it's been good for students. I see a lot of smiles, and I think I'm starting to see a lot of smiles on our teachers as well. But what I wanted to do was to give you a little update so you would know what you're paying me to do. My first day at the school was March the 6th, and I had a great first day. And at the end of the first day, I met with everybody, students, faculty, staff, met with all of them. And I explained to them why I was back and that I could only address anything from this point forward. And that has been my main focus from March the 6th forward. I couldn't change anything in the past. It's out of my purview. But what I wanted them to understand was what my expectations were as an academic leader, and I wanted to know what was on their mind. So I used a little exit slip technique that I used to use when I was in class, Brett Chapman, that you may have filled out one or two along the way. And I asked them to anonymously tell me what the 3 most important things that I needed to do while I was there, you know, what was really on their mind. And they told me. And I reviewed all of that. Our administrative team did. We used an emergent theme analysis and then went back 2 weeks later on a PL day and let them see everything that everyone said. There were no holes barred, and but there were no names. I have no clue who wrote what, don't want to know. The most important thing is that they expressed to me what their concerns were, and I am in the process of trying to tick off those concerns that I can do. The most important thing is that my door is open, and I have always maintained an open door policy. And slowly, teachers are coming in, they're talking, they're feeling better. They find that they have a voice. And we are getting to the point where even if I have to say no, they leave smiling. And so if that happens, I know that I'm making some pretty good inroads. The 3 most important concerns that they had were communication, morale, and then there was an issue regarding discipline, whether the discipline matrix worked or not. The jury is out on that. But I have begun to address the issue of communication. I've started my Chalk Talk again every weekend. It goes out. I wait for Dr. Minnie to put his district bulletin out, and then I take from that what needs to be shared so that everybody understands what's going on. They love it, and they always say, they tell me that they like the little funny that I put at the end. I always have a quote. Today, this weekend, it was Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde said, "You can never be overdressed or overeducated," and so I always try to put something on there for them. So I really think that, you know, if I address communication, that really does take care of a lot of morale issues. The other thing that we have started to do is that we have started to eat together as a family on the PL days. That hasn't been done for a long, long time. And just being able to sit at a table, to talk to your colleague, maybe who teaches on the west end of the building, and to get together and share a common meal, that really has done a lot, because they have asked us if we could do that again, and we are doing that again. First, we had a taco bar. This week, we're having the 3S lunch, which is sandwich, salad, and sweets. You always have to have that sweet there. You know, on Pie Day, everybody got a slice of pie. You know, it's just doing the little things that make a difference so that they feel valued in what they're doing. Now, with regard to discipline, the administrative team went back and looked at WEVAS data that was available 2 years prior to my retirement. And so we sort of tracked everything from March the 10th was the day that we were working together. And we went back March the 10th of 2016 and looked at the data and brought it forward, noting when we were on block schedule, the change in scheduling, and then we noted particular events that may have happened. COVID year, COVID +1. You know, this has been about as normal as school year as I have seen probably since then. As of March the 10th, Mr. Haynes had processed approximately 657 referrals. That's a lot. And if we did nothing, conceivably, Mr. Haynes would probably be at 1,000 referrals. But on that PL day that we were working, when this was being discussed. We shared with all teachers for them to see that number. I will tell you, they were astounded. They said, well, that explains why we can't find Mr. Haynes, because he's always doing that. And whatever Mr. Haynes was doing, I was getting the overflow. But you get that when you're on an 8-period day. You know, it makes a difference. There's going to be more stuff that's going to happen on that 8-period day. Anyway, when we met and shared that information on March the 16th, we asked teachers, we would like for you to be the first step. Instead of immediately making a disciplinary referral, we would love for you to call the parent, discuss the issue with the parent, and put it in the parent's lap. Let the parent take care of that. Any issue that has been brought to me, that is what I have done, and I will tell you, parents are glad to get that information. And they have been, I think it's just a better way of getting started. I will tell you, it is working because the referrals have slowed down considerably. Mr. Haynes and I both met with homeroom representatives, and we met with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders during their lunch, and we met, 9 through 12 on their lunch. And I will tell you, on the middle school side, I wasn't really quite sure what I was going to find with those students, but I will tell you, I was very impressed with them. They were articulate, they knew about their school, they knew about their students, they were complimentary of their teachers. They had great ideas. And I asked them what needs to be done. I gave them a little exit slip. They wrote down everything that they thought that I needed to address. Some I could address. Some things I wasn't even going to go there with them. And because I'm just not doing it. That didn't need to happen. Did the same thing on the 9 through 12 side. Although they're, you know, being older, they have more adult concerns about certain things. And, but the one thing that was consistent with all students from grades 6 through 12 was that they didn't have enough time between classes. So I asked teachers, I said, do you believe this to be a valid point to a person? They all said yes. So we've rearranged the schedule just a little bit. I've eliminated homeroom, that homeroom period, because that puts students out in the halls one extra time. So we've just taken the first block, extended it, first period, extended it. Those normal homeroom activities will be taken care of in first block, first period. And if we do have to have a homeroom for a specific reason, then we'll have one. But that just takes kids out of the halls one less time to do things that they don't need to be doing. In fact, we've met twice with the group. The second time I went over the calendar that you just adopted tonight, and they were glad to have a voice. They were thrilled about that. By reorganizing the schedule just a little bit, it has reduced the number of tardies to class. It hasn't completely eliminated tardiness, but I will tell you, it is better than what it was. Now, with leadership we've talked, and I would recommend that there is a, go back to the old version, we used to call it speed sweep, where if you were tardy, you had to go to the office. It was an automatic thing that a computer program, it took care of everything. You had 3 tardies, you saw Mr. Chambers, and you spent 2 days in lunch detention, and it pretty much took care of a lot of tardies. But I think that will take care of itself as well. I have always been an advocate of final exams in my academic career. Brett Chapman, you remember a few of those. And after talking with a lot of our former students, they've always said that one of the best things that we did was that we mandated final exams. So holding true to my personal pedagogy on that, I've implemented final exams for all students, grades 9, 10, and 11. Grade 12 is going to be teacher optional. It'll be at the discretion of the senior teacher. I will tell you that most of the senior teachers are going to give a final exam. So we have implemented that, and that schedule is going to be the last 5 days of school, the 2 exams on every day, and then the last day of school will be the makeups. And we'll, then we will post grades after that and report cards. have piloted, along with Mr. Price, the iReady for grades 6, 7, and 8 in reading and math. We did that prior to the break. Today, we did all of our makeups, and on Friday, Skip Hackworth and his crew will be in, and we will have the data talk. And we'll meet with our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math and English teachers with the iReady people. I'm presently working with the math department, grades 9 through 12, to implement an algebra mastery model to address the poor math scores. And I've been in communication with a former administrator who implemented a very similar model, and it worked. And he was a high school math teacher before he came on board, excuse me, as principal, and then became a curriculum director. And as a result of this, I think it's really going to make a difference for us. At least I hope that that is what it's going to be. In speaking with him, all of the data that he had when he was still working and implemented the model were all very, very positive. They showed growth in it. I think if this model works, we could probably make some modifications to it and even do it in an English and do it in the English department as well. As a result of these kinds of changes, we're sort of late getting into the course selections for students, but we're going to start that the week of the 17th after we finish with the SAT school day testing this week. I've met with the leadership to review a draft of the 2024 schedule. They've also asked to pursue the exploration of an electronic bathroom pass. I wholeheartedly recommend that, which I have looked into, and Tracy DeWall has looked into. We're going to come back and make a recommendation to Dr. Menning that we can proceed with that. We are looking at a tardy system speed sweep to implement that in the fall as well. I've been meeting with seniors whose grades are putting them in jeopardy of not graduating. As soon as I got there, I asked for the list, and over the last several weeks, I've been pulling them in. I'm finding that, of course, with the low grades, you're going to find high absenteeism, and trying to make sure that they're there on that day is sometimes a little difficult. Presently, we're working to identify 25 seniors and juniors who would be eligible for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Youth Program. And this is a program that will assist young people who face barriers to education, training, and employment. And the program awards its participants $6,000, a laptop, and then guides them into their career choice. This is a really good program. We're working to identify those. Seniors will have priority, of course, but seniors and juniors. The Department of Education has been gracious enough to keep their window open for the school climate survey for students, teachers, staff, and parents through midnight of April the 14th. If you're a parent, you should get through Live Grades the request and the secure passcodes in order to go in and to do the survey. So we're looking, when this data comes back, then the new principal will be able to make a decision on what they're going to do as far as climate and school culture is concerned. I've found in the past this has just been really critical in helping make us the climate, to foster the kind of climate that we want. The school day SAT for grade 11 and the PSAT for grades 9 and 10 will be given on Wednesday, April the 12th. I will tell you, this is a monumental task of getting all of this pulled together. And Tracy DeWall, I cannot thank her enough for serving as the lead in this project. Essentially, she's done it all along with our counselors, and the only thing I had to worry about was getting pizza and snacks. I usually worry a lot about more things with that, but they've just made it so easy, and I'm very, very grateful to them. Next week, we're going to go to Dr. Barr's GSU Jazz Band concert on Tuesday. It's a school-wide activity. I think it's going to be nice. They have a little bit of a cultural flair to their day, and that testing is going to come up again for the GSA when that window opens. I want them to have a little bit of a nice afternoon. Brian Stearns from the Career Center is going to be on campus to meet with 8th and 9th grade students on Monday, the 17th, to explain the opportunity that is afforded to them, that they could start the Career Center earlier than their junior year. And this has been a big push by the Department of Education and the CTE. He is going to review the requirements such as,
Sorry.
that's okay, such as recommendations. They'll have to have teacher recommendations, grade point averages, and attendance to the current 8th and 9th grade students. And then back again on the 27th, he will bring representatives from the labs to do interviews. So these students will be interviewed, and then we'll have a makeup date of May 1 or 2 for interviews. We are not having a regular step-up day for 5th graders as what normally had at the end of the school year. Instead, what we are going to do is we're going to have a 6th grade family engagement night at the beginning of August. And the CIS people, that's going to be their baby. They're going to take that and run with that and make that more of a family engagement. Families, mom, dad, and student come in, hot dogs, hamburgers, meet their teachers, go to the classrooms, go throughout the building, see where everything is so that they have a better feel about where their child is going to school. I have always loved that. I think that is just really important, and it brings parents in. You know, we want to have more parental engagement. They need more parental engagement at the 6 through 12 level, plus more adult supervision too. Of course, we've had a lot of activity with contractors at the high school, and I am overjoyed, having spent 12 years in the office and then upstairs at W204 to see all the new things happening. And I'm just overjoyed with all of that. So it couldn't happen any faster, and really excited about the bleachers. But I do agree, there are some updates that absolutely need to be done. They're woefully out of overdue. We have a lot of activities coming up, including prom, honors banquet, FFA, banquet, senior assembly, senior trip, graduation, and as I told our teachers, get your track shoes on because it is going to be a race to the finish line. I will just tell you that teachers have been wonderful to work with. Staff has been great. Kids have been wonderful. I try to be outside every morning and greet them when they're coming in. Mr. Haynes is just top flight to work with. He has lots of great ideas, and it has been good. And so I think we have turned the corner, and we're making some good inroads. We really are. I feel like the culture and the climate has improved, and you know, my comment to all of our staff, professional staff, was I'm on one page and one page only, and that's the student page. And you know, when you're retired, you can say things, and then you get to leave. You know, unless Dr. Minnie comes and tells me that it's time for me to leave earlier. But you know, that's the page that we all need to be on. It is the page of student. And if they're not on that page, then they really need to think about why they're even here. And that really sort of, when I told them that, in the nicest of ways, that, you know, that's what our purpose is. If we are not singularly focused on this, then we're missing the mark. We're missing the mark. And so I think that we have a wonderful group of teachers at the high school. They just wanted to be heard. And their voice is being heard. And, you know, they're asking all the right questions, and sometimes they're getting the no answer, but they're okay with that. So I think all in all, it's been a great gig for me. And I will tell you that I couldn't have asked for a better time for me to come and to engage with teachers and engage with students. And I think we're going to be okay, everybody. I remember being in high school at Charleston High School, and our teachers would say, oh my God, this generation, I don't know what is going to become of them. And I know I think we're going to be okay. They just need some coddling a little bit, you know, and sometimes they have to have a little bit of the straight talk, But I will tell you, I am impressed with our students. I think that we're on the way of back to being the great school that we always knew we could be, and then some. Thank you.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.
Alrighty, at this time, we'll move on to board member comments. Any board members got comments?
I would just like to pay note that we clap for Nasha.
Okay, Tyson.
It was great, it was, I was moved.
Came in as the Messiah.
May I touch your garment before you leave?
With the I wanted to speak on those final exams. You know, that's the way a lot of classes. I don't know at the college level it's still like, but you know, for the students that plan to go to higher education, they need to get used to that and make that a part of their academic routine as far as taking a final exam within the semester.
And it's not just going on to college, you know?
Yeah.
If you're going into the trades and you're gonna get certified in.
Exams, yep.
You've gotta be able to pass their state licensure.
Yeah.
So what are we doing to prepare them?
Yeah.
And
Big important
I've
test.
always been an advocate of it, and I am so glad that when I went to Dr. Minnie, I said I want to do final exams, and he said, "You're singing my song, girl." So I was okay.
I bet it'll help attendance too.
Well, I have strategically placed them.
That's what it sounded like.
You know, when we started that, we looked, the grades were due before the last week of school. We were looking at,
I said no way.
the whole last week of school being
Yeah.
going
No,
on.
Yeah.
we're not doing that. No,
Yeah, kids
no.
find out when the grades are due and they're done.
They're not
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, and that, it's just the way it was.
Yeah.
They're not gonna come back.
The other thing that I have is, I've got two more things. Actually, I want to commend our extracurricular programs. I know that our high school baseball team has got off to a great start. Our softball team has got off to a great start. I've heard a little bit of, what happened with the track meet? I heard that we only had one track meet and it's going to be in Lewis County now. Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
But I know the community's asked me several
I'll
times.
find out and get back to you
Yeah,
on
so that was one thing, but just wanted to commend that softball team and baseball team along with the junior high teams. And then I just want to make sure, I'm sure somebody else might say it, but if not, but the new list of projects and priorities for this board, and to just see that and to have that, I think would be great. So if not before the next meeting, because I know we have a pretty packed schedule, the meeting after that, it would be great to have a work session and do that, yeah.
Dr. Barr, do you have anything?
Just wanted to say, looking forward to hosting the high school on the 18th for the dress rehearsal for the jazz band. And I sent an email, I think, to everybody here. You all are invited to 1 o'clock on that Tuesday, the 18th. If you can't be there, the actual concert's at 7 o'clock on Friday, the 21st.
That's the 18th?
Tuesday, the 18th at 1 o'clock.
Tax day.
And I'll just say that it was, very exciting, to hear about, the iReady and the new, with that math review coming up, it sounds like that program would, have really helped the curriculum, at both institutions. If we can move that forward, the great positivity, that we have at the high school that Mrs. Butcher addressed, and along with Brett, with those projects and things, if we can get a plan forward, that's what we should be focused on, just like Mrs. Butcher said, as the students, stay on page 1 and let's not get to page 60 and be behind for years on end. That's all I have.
I just want to thank everybody that has worked so hard to get us to where we are at this point. I couldn't be more pleased with the way things are going in the county, and we have so many good people on staff here and so many good board members. We've got great leadership and Dr. Minnie and with Mr. Price and Ms. Butcher, and the sky's the limit for our kids. I'm just really excited about all the things going on.
And I'll just say, again, congratulations on a good audit opinion. So, it's not unusual for good companies to still have findings or things in those adjustments that need made. So for everything to be accounted for appropriately, properly, no no items highlighted there is a very good thing, and can be somewhat rare, so.
All
Good
right.
job, Clay, if you're listening out there.
Shout out to Clay.
Shout out to Clay.
If there's no further board member comments, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, is there a second? It's been properly seconded. We adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries, meeting adjourned.
I wanted to take her.
Yep.